800-333-4KIA for details. Always drive safely. Limited inventory available.
15 years ago, PG&E launched Power Pathway, an education and job training program developed to increase the number of skilled workers in the energy industry. Since then, 85% of the graduates have been hired by PG&E or the construction utility industry. Focusing on students in underserved communities, women, and military veterans, Power Pathway is helping the next generation of PG&E energy professionals build a better future for themselves and a clean energy future for California. To learn more, visit pge.com/powerpathway.
Thanks for showing up, Dub Nation. Nothing beats catching your Warriors live, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back. As the official ticket marketplace of the Warriors and the NBA, even if you're headed to the game last minute, Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can experience all the sights, sounds, and styles in person. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Warriors tickets today at Ticketmaster. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com/Warriors. See you courtside again soon, Dub Nation.
Dub Nation, NBC Sports Bay Area is your home for complete Warriors coverage. Catch Steph and the squad all season long as Bob Fitzgerald and Kalina Azubuike call all the action. Tune in to Warriors pre- and post-game live, hosted by me, Bonte Hill, alongside NBA champ Festus Ezeli and Hall of Famer Chris Bullen. 1 hour before and immediately after every single game. Plus nonstop Warriors content with the NBC Sports Bay Area app. Authentic moments live here on NBC Sports Bay Area.
To Curry, pump fake, fly by, three ball, got it with the buzzer sounding!
You've been listening to Golden State Warriors basketball on the Warriors Radio Network. Presented by United Airlines. For tickets, visit Warriors.com or call 888-GSW-HOOP.
You wish you were here.
This Odyssey Sports broadcast was presented by ZipRecruiter. Looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try it for
Bounce is no good. Tipped out. There's your ball game. Grant has it. Game's over. Portland will win. And the Warriors again with a chance to win. A winnable game gets into the L column. And the Warriors waste a tremendous performance by Stephen Curry. A 48-point night for Curry. And they lose by a final score of 136-131. They fall back below 500 at 13-14. And now have a home with the improved Phoenix Suns, followed by Orlando, who's a good team in the East, and then Dallas on Christmas. And then a 3-game road trip. So the Warriors' schedule not going to get easier as they drop both games that were put onto the schedule via the Cup brackets. And the Warriors will head home with a bitter taste in their mouth, losing here in Portland by 5.
Absolutely a bitter taste in their mouth. That was a rough one. Maybe the most disheartening loss of the Warriors season. You just heard Tim Roy describe it. Welcome into Warriors Wrap-Up here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you. Final score in Portland. Trailblazers 136, the Warriors 131. Well, it's an obvious place to start in this one because Steph was as good as he's ever been. Steph was absolutely amazing in this game. It is incredible that the man is 37 years old, will be 38 in March. He passed Michael Jordan for the most 40-plus point games after turning 30 years old in NBA history. Tonight, it was the 45th time he's done that. Michael only did it 44 times. Steph is one of the best basketball players to ever play the game, and tonight he was at or near his very, very best. Missed a layup late, had a turnover late that might have cost the Warriors the chance to win this basketball game, but there's no way they're within 20 points if Steph does not do what he did throughout this entire basketball game. He scores 48 points, goes 16 for 26 from the field, 12 of 19 from downtown, yet the Warriors lose. And let me tell you, even if the Warriors had won this game, let's say Steph makes the layup, avoids the turnover, the Warriors get a stop here or there, Sharp doesn't go crazy, Avdia doesn't go crazy, they just get one stop down the stretch, and say they win this game 133-131 instead of losing 136-131. Say they sneak out the victory. All right, congrats, you got to win. But the warning signs are still there. The Warriors, not in a must-win, but coming off of a rough loss at home to the Anthony Edwards-less Minnesota Timberwolves. This is a game against Portland, a team that came in 9-16. This is a game that you need to win. You need to win. You're now back below 500 again. Portland is dealing with injuries. No Drew Holiday. All their bigs were questionable. They ended up being available, and they weren't the big story of this game. It was the Wings. But this is a game that you should win. And you get 48 points from Steph. You should absolutely win that basketball game, and you should win it going away. Yet the reality that the Warriors are staring at right now is even when Steph plays at an MVP level, and he's darn near that for the games that he's played this year, even when Steph plays at an MVP level, they cannot beat a below-average team. They cannot beat a below-average team. And again, this is the same exact story if they had just made a couple of plays down the stretch and snuck out and won this basketball game. I'd instead be saying Steph was amazing, scored 48 points, and you barely win. He has to play 35 minutes for you to win. Like, a win is great. You're 14-13 instead of 13-14, but all the signs are still there. All the signs are pointing towards this team just does not have enough behind Steph. Steph scores 48 points, and you lose to Portland? To Portland? Like, don't get me wrong. This is not supposed to be incredibly anti-Portland radio right now. In fact, I'm a big fan of a lot of their players. If you listen to me during the preseason and early on in the season, I told you how much I really like Denny Avdia, how much I'm a big fan of Toumani Camara, what he does defensively. Shaedon Sharpe has been compared to Jonathan Kuminga. He was amazing in this game. Shaedon Sharpe had 35 points, was 12 for 18 from the field. This is not, I think Portland is a terrible basketball team. This is just reality, given what they are so far this season. They are a subpar basketball team. Entered today 12th in the Western Conference. They were 9-16. The Warriors get 48 points from Steph, and you lose? A win would not have changed the fact that the warning signs are all still there. This Warrior team is not good enough. Even an otherworldly performance from Steph can't get you a win. Not only can it not get you a double-digit victory and a victory where you can maybe rest Steph in the fourth quarter, it can't even get you a victory, period. You lose, you're 0-3 versus Portland. And oh, by the way, how about this? Steph was amazing in all three games versus Portland. Steph, in the first game versus Portland, which was the third game of the year, it was on a back-to-back. He scored 35 points, 7 for 14 from deep. About a month ago, in November, Warriors, Portland at home. Steph scored 38 points, 9 for 17 from deep, and then tonight, Steph, 48 points, 12 for 19 from downtown. That means in the three games versus Portland this year, Steph went 28 for 50 from downtown. 28 for 50 from downtown. And you're 0-3 in those games. 0-3 in those games. Steph has often covered up a lot of warts for the Warriors. Often, because he is so singularly great. So singularly great that he makes the Warriors look a whole lot better than they really are. And he has done that for the majority of his career. Obviously, when Clay was playing at the best two-way guard level in the NBA and Draymond was the best defender in the league and one of the better distributors and creators offensively, and you had Kevin Durant, maybe the best just simple bucket getter in the league, you didn't have a lot of warts. But post that era of Warriors basketball, and in moments where maybe you have some guys missing and out with injuries and all that, Steph has been so good that he's covered up a lot of issues. A lot of issues. And this is not a Steph has fallen off a cliff, because he clearly hasn't. Maybe he's going to miss more games because he's 37 years old, will be 38 in March, and that's understandable, that's fair. When he's playing, he's as good as he's ever been. I still agree. I've said this a number of times. I still think he has never been better. If you put this Steph back in the 2015 NBA when Steph won an MVP for the first time, Steph would dominate even more so. This 37-year-old Steph would dominate in that NBA because the league has no clue how to defend him, and what he has learned over the last decade is how to get shots off in tough situations. Steph, when he's on the floor, I don't think has ever been better. Yet the Warriors' holes on their roster are just too gigantic to cover up. Steph is being asked to carry too heavy a load. And, you ask who's letting Steph down? Whose fault is it? It's everybody. Everybody deserves some blame for this Warrior roster. Steph scores 48 points, goes 12 for 19 on threes, and you lose to a below-average Portland team. That's now 3-0 against you so far this year, but 7-16 against the rest of the league. They're 7-16 against all opponents other than the Warriors, 3-0 versus the Warriors. They got some quality pieces. Again, I'm not saying that this is a New Orleans Pelicans level basketball team. This is a below-average basketball team. They're not terrible, but they're by no means good. And they just said, all right, we're taking your 48-point punch from Steph Curry, and we're going to win 136-131. So who deserves blame for this being the Warriors' reality right now? Frankly, it's everybody not named Steph. It's the players for not playing well enough. Draymond Green, 8 turnovers tonight. Are you kidding me? 8 turnovers tonight for Draymond Green. 8 of them. 8 turnovers for Draymond Green. The Warriors as a team committed 18 turnovers. Draymond nearly committed 9 of them. Draymond's decision-making offensively rough in this game. The number of times he either had the defensive rebound and looked for an outlet pass or got like the short outlet pass after a defensive stop and then tried the cross-court pass kind of in transition and it got easily poked away for a bucket the other way. The number of miscommunications, the times where he would just simply kind of hand the ball off to an opponent. I don't know what he was doing offensively in this game. And it frankly, he was good offense, scoring the basketball. He had 14 points in the first half. Did not score in the second half. Had 8 rebounds and 7 assists. He did some all right things. You told me you get 14 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists from Draymond. I would have said, wow, he had a pretty darn good game. 8 turnovers, though. Unacceptable. Jimmy Butler today. Jimmy Butler today goes 3 of 11 from the field, 16 points. 16 points for Jimmy Butler. Now, in his last 2 games, 15 points on 6 of 11 shooting, only had 1 field goal attempt in the fourth quarter of that game versus Minnesota on Friday, and then tonight, 16 points, 3 of 11 from the field. The only reason he had any kind of game offensively was because he got to the line 11 times. Great skill, and he made 10 of those 11. Great skill, and he's very good at that. But man, oh man, he's getting paid nearly, $60 million. You got to score more than 15 and 16 points on consecutive nights when you're allowing 127 and 136 points. Not good enough from Draymond, not good enough from Jimmy Butler. The wings that you played in this basketball game, can anybody just have any kind of night? Can anybody have any kind of night? Moses Moody, he was 5 for 9 from the field. Missed a wide open corner 3 in the first half. Wide open. And we've seen that so many times from him of late. Buddy Hield can't defend anybody. Was 4 for 7 from the field, but you just need more from those groups. So the players, they deserve a lot of blame. The others deserve a lot of blame. Steve Kerr deserves some blame. I don't know if the Jonathan Kuminga-Steve Kerr relationship is so far broken that it's become personal. I don't know. I tend to think not, because if Steve Kerr thinks that Jonathan Kuminga can help this Warrior team but isn't playing him because of some personal beef, then he's nowhere near as good of a coach as I thought he was. I don't think that's the case. But the flip side isn't all that great either. Steve Kerr thinking that Jonathan Kuminga could not have helped in this game, or at least not being a chance that he could have helped in this game. Same exact thing on Friday versus Minnesota. Who dominated the Warriors on Friday when Minnesota came in here without Anthony Edwards and beat the Warriors? It was Julius Randle, it was Rudy Gobert, and it was Naz Reid. Those were the 3 that controlled that basketball game. Who could match up physically with Julius Randle and Naz Reid specifically? Not saying that Jonathan Kuminga would have come in and stopped those guys or either of those guys. But you're down Draymond Green in that game. What's a body, just physically, that can match up with those guys in terms of size, length, strength, quickness, athleticism? It's a short list on your Warrior roster. One of them is Draymond. He was out. The other was Jonathan Kuminga, who was active, but a DNPCD. That stands for Did Not Play Coach's Decision. I didn't understand that on Friday. I thought he could have helped. Now, it might not have worked. I think it was worth a try, considering that those two were working you in that basketball game. And then you turn the page to tonight. How did Portland win this basketball game? They won because their wings dominated. Jeremy Grant, 35 points on 12 of 22 shooting. Shaedon Sharpe, 35 points on 12 of 18 shooting. Deni Avdija, 26 points to go with 7 rebounds and 8 assists. He wasn't as efficient, 6 for 16 from the field, but still, those 3 guys, 35, 35, and 26. Those 3 guys combined for 96 points on 30 for 56 shooting, 14 for 24 from deep. It is very clear the Warriors' options to defend those guys tonight were failing miserably across the board. So I don't know. Maybe you turn to your uber athletic wing who is just kind of waiting on the bench and you give him a run. You give him a chance. Shaedon Sharpe, 6'6". Jeremy Grant, 6'9". Deni Avdija, 6'8". Who's going to have a chance? A chance. Not saying it's going to work well, but who's going to have a chance to limit those guys? I don't know. Maybe your guy with a similar frame and athleticism in Jonathan Kuminga would have a chance. He would, at the very least. I'm not telling you he's going to come in and shut those guys down. I'm just telling you, physically, athletically, body length-wise, just size-wise, he matches up. Would it have gone great? I don't know. I don't have that answer. Kuminga at times has shown an ability to defend. He has also at times shown an ability to get lost on that end of the floor. I don't know. But frankly, what you're trying isn't really working. So try something else. Try something else. Will Richard, I don't think Will Richard could really match up with those guys specifically. I do think he's a better defender than some of the other guys that you're playing in this game as well. And he, again, was a DNP-CD. Did not play. Coach's decision in this game. That's happened in consecutive games. Seth Curry did not play. Will Richard did not play. Jonathan Kuminga did not play. So, some of the coaching decisions, do they deserve blame? Yes, I think so as well. What about the front office? Does the front office deserve blame? I mean, we can blame the players, right? We can absolutely blame the players. At a certain point, though, you got to come to the realization that what you have on the roster just simply might not be good enough. Might not be good enough. And the wings, let me take a step back, because I was talking about this as it relates to Steve Kerr's decision to not play Jonathan Kuminga. I think, and this is my read on the situation, I don't think he's not playing Kuminga because it's some sort of personal vendetta. That is crazy to me. Now, I don't know that for certain. I don't think that's the case, because that would really, really shock me when all Steve Kerr cares about is winning basketball games. So if he thinks that Jonathan Kuminga is going to help him win a basketball game, he's going to play Jonathan Kuminga. That's my read on the situation. You are free to disagree, and if you do, give me a call, shoot me a text, 888-957-9570. It's Warriors Wrap-Up here on 95.7 The Game. If that's the case, though, and I'm right, and it's not some personal thing, and it's because Steve Kerr does not think Jonathan Kuminga can help the Warriors win basketball games, then either Steve Kerr's evaluation is wrong, and Jonathan Kuminga could help, or Steve Kerr's evaluation is right, and Jonathan Kuminga, in a game where the Blazers' wings combine for 96 points. 96 points from Shaedon Sharpe, Jeremy Grant, and Deni Avdija. Again, either Steve Kerr's wrong and Kuminga can help. That's an issue in and of itself, because your coach isn't identifying who can help on a given night. Or he's right, and Kuminga could not help on a night like tonight. And if that's the case, then what the hell has the Warriors front office been doing for years now, holding on to that guy? If that's the reality, then man, oh man, have the Warriors seriously mismanaged this. You have a couple of options right now. A couple of options. Option number one is Steve Kerr's not playing Kuminga, and he's misreading Kuminga's ability to maybe help the team, or 2, he's reading it correctly, and the Warriors have held on to a depreciating asset for far too long. A player that they don't even think can get in and help in a game like this when the opposing wings are dominating. Those are 2 terrible, terrible possibilities. I think just physically, Kuminga could have matched up in the last 2 games. Now, this is not about Kuminga. I know I've been talking a lot about Kuminga. I'm just talking about blame, and there is certainly blame, I believe, on Steve Kerr's plate for how these last 2 games have played out. You are a small team already, and I know you're down some guys. You were down Draymond Green Friday. You're down Al Horford both Friday and today. Not going to be a gigantic difference. Al Horford, I don't think, is he a positive player? Yes, I do think so. But would he have turned this from a loss to a victory? Maybe, but probably not. Would he have turned the game on Friday from a loss to a victory? Probably not. I don't know. Probably not. I still think largely he is a positive player when he plays, but he's missed, I think now 13 of the Warriors' 27 games, so he only plays about 50% of the time anyway, dealing with sciatica still. We'll see how it all plays out. But clearly, what the Warriors are trotting out there right now is simply not good enough. And tonight was a clear display. The Warriors' options at wing, the wing spot, which has essentially become 2, 3, and 4 in today's NBA, specifically 3 and 4. A lot of wing players in the NBA. And this has become a wing league. You have your ball-dominant guards, but oftentimes the best guards are the longer ones, the taller ones, the lankier ones, the ones that, you would kind of normally slide into your 3 spot. Luka Doncic is a prime example. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not as big as Luka, but is still larger and longer than most prototypical point guards. That's where the league is going. But the Warriors don't have anybody in that group. You got Jimmy Butler, and you play Jimmy Butler as the 3 most often, sometimes as the 4 when you go small and play Draymond at the 5. Other than an aging Jimmy Butler, who, again, deserves blame. Last 2 games, you got to do a little bit more offensively, Jimmy. You absolutely have to. Other than Jimmy, who's the Warrior wing that you feel like can match up with any of the other good wings across the NBA? Portland has great wings. Great wings. Jeremy Grant is generally a volume scorer, and he's overpaid, but he was amazing tonight. But beyond Jeremy Grant, Deni Avdija is essentially their point guard, but he's 6'8". 6'8". Deni Avdija is a hell of a basketball player. He should be an all-star this year. He should be an all-star. And if Portland can figure things out, and if they finish the regular season like with an above 500 record and maybe they're threatening for a play-in spot, then Avdija should get MVP consideration. Not going to win MVP, of course. He's very, very good. Averages about 25, 7, and 6. He's really, really good. And tonight he had 26, 7, and 8. And it wasn't his best game. He was 6 for 16 from the field. But you got Shaedon Sharpe, who kind of is the same kind of prototype as Jonathan Kuminga, a bouncy, very bouncy wing. Young wing. He's developing as an offensive threat, much more than Kuminga has. He scored 35 points tonight, was 5 for 7 from deep, 12 for 18 from the field. And then you also throw in Toumani Camara, who plays the 4 for them mostly. He was nothing special offensively, but he's one of the best perimeter wing defenders in the NBA. They have wings that do all sorts of things. The Warriors' wings, you just hope you hope that they can knock down a 3. That's what you hope for. Moses Moody, please make this 3. Please make this 3. Buddy, please catch fire and make a couple of shots. Jonathan Kuminga, is he even going to play? The Warriors don't have wings. And this is a wing league now in the NBA, and the Warriors don't have an answer. They don't have an answer to some of these teams that have the better wings in the league this year. 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. Again, 888-957-9570. Ryan in St. Louis is going to start us off here on Warriors Wrap-Up as the Dubs fall to the Blazers 136-131. This might be the most disheartening loss of the Warriors season. 48 from Steph, and you lose to Portland. How does that happen? 48 from Steph, and you lose. Ryan, you're up. What do you got? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up.
Man, I just got a couple questions for you guys, man. For those who all played basketball before, in the fourth quarter, when you've been playing against bigger players for the first 3 quarters, eventually your leg's going to get tired. And those big bodies over Timberwolves games and even this game, what we have consistently seen is they start to score inside out, while the Warriors are consistently trying to shoot threes. And eventually when those long threes don't hit, you got to go back on transition. You don't have the athletes to keep up with these wing players and these fives anymore, and we're constantly getting burnt. We have to do something different here, guys, because at the end of the day, if you're not going to put guys out there that can score on the offensive end, that will have these other guys have to work. These guys don't have to work, guys. The 5, the 4, and the 3 positions from the Warriors aren't putting any onus on these guys to be tired in the fourth quarter. So they can sit here and relax on defense, and then when it's time to play offense, they got the energy. And we don't have the legs, the athleticism that you just shared anymore. And so this is a big issue, and it's been consistent over the last 3 years. We need somebody to at least get these guys in foul trouble. Nobody's getting Sheldon Sharp in foul trouble. Nobody's getting the Advert in foul trouble or the big guy. Nobody's putting pressure on them. So they get to relax. Just like Steph Curry, what was one of the greatest things Klay Thompson did for Steph Curry, guys? Allow Steph Curry to relax on on the defensive end. When we've been playing teams over the last several years, they got their 5th, 4th, and 3rd guy, which is the bigger guys, relaxing on on defense. And it's causing us some issues. That's all I'm going to say. Think about that. Let me know what you think about it, okay?
Yeah, appreciate the call, Ryan. I think in general, you're talking about how over the course of a game, when you're the smaller team, and maybe that's taking a little bit more out of you physically. It kind of shows up late in games on the offensive end. You're probably on to something, generally speaking. It wasn't the case tonight, though. Warriors were great offensively. They scored 131 points. They shot 51% from the field. They made 24 threes. They were great offensively. And this is a team that generally has struggled more on the offensive end than on the defensive end. Tonight, it was the defense that was the issue. And I know Steve Kerr has said over and over and over again, his major concern is on the offensive end as opposed to the defensive end. That might be what you're talking about a little more so, Ryan. But there is probably something to that. But again, it wasn't really the case tonight. I think this is a Warrior basketball team where you look at what plagued them in this one, and it was the inability to stop penetration. And it was Deni Avdija, who I believe is, only second or maybe third in the NBA in terms of drives per game, number of times that he penetrates off the dribble into the paint. Deni Avdija is up there with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as one of the more consistent drivers in the NBA. And what happened tonight? Because I heard this so much. And, whether you're watching NBC Sports Bay Area, you're watching and listening to Fitz and Buki call the action, or you see it on Twitter and you say, wow, another no-name player having a career night from downtown, or another bad shooting team having a shooting night versus the Warriors. Portland is example A, B, and C of this, by the way. Portland is the worst three-point shooting team in the NBA this year by percentage. Worst three-point shooting team in the NBA by percentage. Yet tonight against the Warriors, they were 20 for 39 from deep. That's 51% from deep. How about this? Portland. Actually, let me look at this really quick. Portland, in their 2 games versus the Warriors this season, prior to tonight, they were 16 for 34. 16 for 34 in the first game against the Warriors from downtown. And then in the most recent game versus the Warriors, which was in mid to late November, they were 16 for 45 from downtown. And then tonight, as I mentioned, they went 20 for 39 from downtown. So 16 for 36, 16 for 45, and 20 for 39. Those, the second one, not great. That's a gigantic number of attempts for only 16 makes. The other 2 games, though, that's crazy efficient, and specifically this game. How is Portland the worst three-point shooting team by percentage in the NBA, yet how can they consistently, over the course of 3 games, be very good from downtown versus the Warriors? I think the answer is pretty simple. I think some of the reason is, and this is what you hear oftentimes at NBC Sports Bay Area, you hear it from Fitz and Azubuike, you hear it on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, watching or following along on Warriors games, he says, well, You know, you run into some bad luck, and some of these opponents, they catch fire against you, and they just can't miss. There's probably some of that. There's probably some of that there. Absolutely. But what happens when the Warriors play the Blazers and you allow drive after drive after drive, and you allow the Blazers to break the paint? The defense has to collapse. And the Warriors, pretty consistently, in my estimation, are a team that overhelps. And Avdia drives past whoever's guarding him. I thought Melton was going to help out a lot defensively. Melton in this basketball game played 19 minutes, did not score. He was 0 for 5 from the field, 0 for 3 from downtown. He did some good things defensively. I thought he was going to be able to do a better job defensively against Denny Avdia specifically. But Denny Avdia, who can get into the paint against almost anybody, continued to do that. And then what happens? The Warriors collapse. Avdia kicks it out to an open shooter. Either that shooter takes the shot or the defense then has to swing and recover. But then Portland swings the ball around the perimeter and they eventually find the open man. They shoot a three. It's an open three and it goes in. I don't care if you're a bad three-point shooter or you're a bad three-point shooting team. If you give any team in the NBA consistent open looks from deep, they're going to make you pay. And the number of these threes that Portland took, again, they took 39 of them. They made 20 of them. The number of those 39 that were open threes, like, I mean, it must be like 25 of the 39. So many open threes from Portland tonight. So many open threes. So some of it is maybe, some 33% shooters made some shots. Like, okay, tip your cap. They made them tonight. They might miss them another night. But you're also giving them high percentage looks pretty consistently. You're giving them high percentage looks. And if you do that to any NBA team in the league, they're going to make you pay more often than not. And that's what Portland did tonight. And they win 136-131. So I get it. Some of it might be a little bit of bad luck. And a bad shooting team catches fire maybe somewhat randomly. But also, you know what? They're more likely to catch fire when you give them open looks. And then, oh, by the way, when somebody, specifically a single player, goes crazy and they start feeling themselves from downtown, like Shaedon Sharpe tonight, who could not miss from deep, was 5 for 7 from downtown. You know what? Maybe don't help off that guy. Maybe don't leave him. When Avdia drives and I'm Buddy Hield and I'm guarding Shaedon Sharpe, I'm not helping off of Shaedon Sharpe. I'm sticking to him because he has beaten us time and time and time again. He's on fire. I'm not going to let him beat me anymore. I'm going to stick out to him and I'm not going to help off of him. I'm not going to give up another open look. I don't think the Warriors were very good in terms of their defensive principles in this game, and it cost them. 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. George in San Mateo is up next. What's up, George? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up with Mark Randy.
Hi. I really wanted to talk about, a couple of things tonight, but really the first thing is just like how disappointing the Warriors have been the past couple of years. I mean, it is just so disappointing for the most heartfelt region in the United States with the most heartfelt fans are just like, we have to see this team whose coaching staff just is inadequate at this point. Honestly, I'm questioning Steve Kerr, how he acts. I'm questioning how he pushes these guys. Because, look at Steph Curry now. He had 48 points, close to 50, right? The guy's, 37 years old, 36 years old. He's getting pushed to the brim. He has no help. He has these athletic freaks on the bench. Mainly Trace Jackson Davis is the guy I want to see more of, honestly. I want to see more of the guy. And, we have no height either. It's it would be great in the future if Steve Kerr can start pushing more taller guys, athletic guys, because, it's just sucky. He plays as, older dudes. It's great we have Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, but what are we going to do when they leave? What's the future of the Warriors going to look like? Because I just honestly see the franchise, the dominance we have, or now, I guess, the subparness is coming to an end. So what's the plan? What's going to happen next?
Yeah, George, it's a fair question to ask because something has to change. Something has to change. It's getting late awfully quick. The Warriors are 13-14. They're a game under 500. This is worse than the Warriors were at this point last year. If you remember, the Warriors began the season with that amazing start. They were 12-3 to begin the season, and everyone was thinking, oh my God, they're going to win another championship. D'Anthony Melton came in and was playing great to begin the year, And then he got hurt, and then things kind of started, fading the opposite way. They then went 3-12 in the next 15 to get back to 500 at 15-15. The Warriors right now are 13-14. Believe it or not, they are worse right now than they were last year, record-wise. And they were 4-1 to begin this season. They've had a couple of 4-1 stretches as well overall this year, and they're 13-14 right now. Steph comes back, and through no fault of his own, they're 0-2 in the last 2 games since Steph returned from his 5-game absence. Steph, in his last 2 games, he's scored, 87 points? Yeah, 39 points on Friday, 48 points tonight. 87 points for Steph in the last 2 games, and the Warriors are 0-2. And that comes against a Minnesota team, down Anthony Edwards, and a Portland team that came into tonight at 9-16. 87 points from Steph in 2 games, and you lose both of them. Against teams that, considering the absences that those 2 teams had, you should beat. And you lost both of them. Tough for the Warriors. Okay, you know what? We're going to take a quick break. I see you, David in Maryland. We will get to you when we come back. We got more to talk about. We're going to hear from Steve Kerr as well, who addressed the media. I'm sure Steve Kerr frustrated tonight. We're going to hear from Steve Kerr. Maybe he was asked about another DNP for Jonathan Kuminga. I think Kuminga would have matched up physically in this game. We'll see if Kerr was asked about that, plus a whole lot more. Warriors lose in Portland 136-131. They're now 13-14. They waste 48 points from Steph Curry. He was 12 for 19 from downtown. Most 3-pointers ever made against the Blazers in a single game by a single player. Steph Curry tonight, yet the Warriors lost. All right, 48 from Steph. Warriors lose 136-131. Mark Randy with you. More Warriors wrap up next on 95.7 The Game.
What's your financial future look like? At Pettinelli Financial Partners, we help you shape it. Whether you're planning for retirement, buying a home, or saving for something special, our professionals are here to provide clear guidance and smart strategies. Visit PettinelliFP.com today and take the first step toward a more secure financial future. The financial consultants at Pettinelli Financial Partners are registered representatives with and securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Stratos Wealth Partners, a registered investment advisor. Stratos and Pettinelli are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Every now and then I rinse it out, and I need Johnny Rinse tonight, and I need it more. Like it was the bed and the smell never leaves. I don't know what to do, I'm always in the dark. The sweat can get short, smells like a dog park. And Johnny Rinse it tonight.
Downy Rinse fights stubborn odors in just one wash. When impossible odors get stuck in,
Rinse it out.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/life.
Hi, I'm Chris.
I'm David.
And I'm John Margevisi with Jack's Restaurant and Bar.
Dude, what's with that voice?
Bro, it's my radio voice. People say I have a great voice for radio.
Bro, people say you have a great face for radio.
Oh, you have a radio
Guys,
face.
not again. We're here to talk about Jack's. Our mom taught us everything we know. Use the best ingredients. Cook everything homemade. Treat everyone like family.
Don't forget the bar.
With amazing cocktails.
Of course. Full bar. Amazing cocktails. Let's stay focused.
You're right. I'm sorry, bro.
I'm sorry, too.
That's better. Besides, you're twins. You have the same face for radio.
Why, you little sh**.
I love Jax.com.
Elevate your kitchen at the Mila Innovation Center at Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill. Out of your dreams and into your kitchen. Select the qualifying built-in kitchen appliance package that is right for you. With unrivaled technology and luxury-grade quality, when you bring home a Mila, you're bringing home true innovation. Now, for a limited time, save up to 10% with the purchase of a qualifying Mila kitchen package. Visit the Mila Innovation Center at Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill or at friedmansappliance.com.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS to reach a friendly live agent. Donation's super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now, 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS. That's Cars with a K to donate your car today.
1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS. K-A-R-S, Cars for Kids. 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS. Donate your car today.
Hurry! It's your last chance to donate for 2025. Last chance! Donate now for a 2025 tax deduction.
What if you had the smartest Wi-Fi? If you did, it'd be Xfinity, of course. And it'd come with their best state-of-the-art equipment. It would boost speeds to the devices that needed them most, prioritizing your most important connections, whether you were streaming, gaming, or gaming while pretending to work. And it would let you stream 4. That's right, 4 games on one screen. It would even power your mobile connection so you could bring faster, secure Wi-Fi speeds with you where you use it most. It would be proactive and fix problems before you knew you had them. Impressive, right? And it would have security features that protect you from threats at home and online. Kinda like a force field for your life. If you had the smartest Wi-Fi, well, everything would work together seamlessly to keep you connected, no matter what. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply.
Guys, thanks for helping me carry my Christmas tree.
Zoe, this thing weighs a ton.
Drewski, live with your legs, man.
Santa! Did you get my letter?
He's talking to you, Bridges.
I'm not that.
Of course he did. Right, Santa?
You know, my elf Drewski here, he handles the nice list.
An elf? I'm 6'3". What everyone wants is iPhone 17. And at T-Mobile, you can get it on them. That center stage front camera is amazing for group selfies. Right, Mrs. Claus?
I'm Mrs. Claus's much younger sister. And at T-Mobile, there's no trade-in needed when you switch, so you can keep your old phone.
Or give it as a gift.
And the best part, you can make the switch to T-Mobile from your phone in just 15 minutes.
Guys, my side of the tree is slipping.
Timber!
The holidays are better at T-Mobile. Switch in just 15 minutes and get iPhone 17 on us with no trade-in needed.
With 24 monthly bill credits for well-qualified customers plus tax and $35 device connection charge. Credits end and balance due if you pay off early or cancel. Finance agreement 256 gigs, $830. Eligible port in a new line. $100 plus a month plan with auto pay plus taxes and fees required. Check out in 15 minutes or less per line. Visit T-Mobile.com.
Driving right side, stops, pump fake, shots up. Good defense by Pajemski. He gets the rebound off the miss and takes it across midcourt. Now he'll drive the other way. Kicked it to Curry, right sideline, triple. Why not? Number 30 buries another one. 115, 113. Curry's got 37. It's his 9th 3 of the night.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
Welcome back. Mark Randy with you. Warriors wrap up on 95.7 The Game. Dubs fall in Portland 136-131. Man, that was a rough one. I said it off the very top, and I stand by it. Most disheartening loss of the Warriors season. They've had a lot of them. I mean, just run through the Warriors schedule. There's a number of losses that pop up as losses that should have been wins. They've lost 5 games by my count to teams that were down stars. Milwaukee without Giannis. The next game, Indiana without Halliburton and a number of others. That one maybe doesn't count because Halliburton's been out for the whole year and you weren't expecting him to play, but still, that was an Indiana team down a number of other players as well, and you lose that game. It's a game that you should win. You lost to Houston, who was down Kevin Durant in that game. You lost to Orlando, who was down Paolo Banchero. You lost to Anthony Edwards, who was down Minnesota. That's 5 losses to teams down stars that you feel like, at least 3 of those 5 you should probably win, if not 4, maybe even all 5. Like a really good team would win all 5 of those games. You have other games that you were in and you easily could have won. In Sacramento comes to mind. That was a game where you were down like all of your key players, but Sacramento was also down a number of key players as well. Portland at home. A little less than a month ago, about 3 weeks ago, you could have won that game. You lose that one by 4. In Philadelphia, again, you're down some key guys. Like the Warriors have a number of losses that they very easily could have been wins. And I know in the NBA, like every team can say that. The number of close losses, clutch losses, like a lot of teams have a number of them. Maybe every team other than OKC, because OKC's only lost twice to begin with. They could have won, maybe both of those games, but that's only 2 instances. The Warriors have like at least 7 or 8 of those instances where you say, man, they probably could have or should have won that basketball game. Tonight's another one because Steph scores 48 points. You have a lead in the fourth quarter. In fact, I haven't mentioned this yet because there's just been so much frustration, I think, to get out and get off my chest. And I'm going to go to you, David, in a second. I'll allow you to get your frustration out. I see you. We're coming to you in a sec. But to set that up, the Warriors led by 10 with 9:40 left. The Warriors were up 109-99 with 9:40 to go in this basketball game. Then Portland immediately responds and they go on a 12-0 run. In total, once it was 109-99 Warriors, over the next 9:40, the final 9:40, 9 minutes and 40 seconds of basketball, the Blazers outscored the Warriors 37-22. 37 Portland points in 9 minutes and 40 seconds. And they, as a result of that 37-22 run, they beat the Warriors by a final score, again, of 136-131. Warriors had a double-digit fourth quarter lead, and they lost. And just add another one to the list of losses that very easily could have and probably should have been wins. This is another one. Now, credit Portland. They came out and they took it. The Warriors did not just, mistake, give Portland a chance. Portland executed flawlessly on offense for the majority of this game. They were very good down the stretch offensively. The Warriors, though, you're up by 10 in the fourth quarter. That's a game you should win. Sorry, you should win that basketball game, and he didn't. All right, out to the phones. As we continue here on Warriors Wrap Up, we're going to hear from Steve Kerr shortly as well. Right now, though, David in Maryland weighs in, 888-957-9570. David, you're on Warriors Wrap Up. What's up?
I don't understand how we lost that game. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's really upsetting to watch that. I don't understand why Pajemski is being forced on us so hard. Him and Buddy Hield, I just don't understand why they're getting closing minutes. It doesn't really make sense to me. The thing about Buddy Hield and Brandon Pajemski and Jonathan Kuminga, you know what's common between all of them? They all can be good sometimes, but they can also underperform sometimes. So it's like you're taking a gamble every time you put either someone incredibly small like Pajemski or Buddy on the floor. You're asking them to defend players that they probably have no dream of actually being able to defend. And the point with the Kuminga is you want to bring Kuminga in for the sake of a body. That's not good enough. We need players on this team that are able to defend the person that's in front of them, not just, we need you because we're short, we're small, and your body could make us just a little bit better. I think I'm starting to get into conspiracy theory realm because of just how bad the losses are becoming. Maybe Pods is playing because we're planning on shipping him out soon, and we need to audition him for his next team. So we're playing him more minutes even when it doesn't make any sense. Where was Quinton Post today? Where was Guy Santos? Where are all these people that were doing so good for us? Where are all their minutes? Where's Trace Jackson Davis? Why does Steve Kerr think that it's a smart idea for Stephen Curry to play right next to Pat Spencer? Well, because he played good a couple of games, so he has to start. So we have 2 to 3 small people playing at the same time. I'm blaming the coaching staff for this loss. Of course, as you said, I blame the front office because we keep bringing on all these guards thinking they're going to be able to. It's 2025. We need length and we need athleticism, and we need defenders. Jonathan Kuminga is not going to do that for us. Jimmy Butler should be better. He's not that. And Stephen Curry is dropping 30 points and 40 points back to back. I think this whole thing is a wash, and it's just sad. Honestly, I have no words. I have no words at all.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Dave. Well, you did have some words, and I appreciate the words. As far as he mentioned a lot there, Pods and Quinton Post and Pat Spencer and Trace Jackson Davis. I largely thought Pods was fine today. They played 33 minutes, scored 12 points, 4 for 7 from the field, 3 of 3 from deep, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. I think Pods was largely good today for the most part. Now, the defense is a separate thing, and I don't think he's ever going to be a plus defender in terms of keeping guys in front of him. That's always an issue. And that's the reality that I think he's facing as a basketball player. I do think, though, when it comes to Pods, he's suffering from a fan base that is, then I shouldn't use the word suffering because he has set these expectations on himself. Pods has talked about how he wants to be the heir apparent to Steph and to Draymond and to Jimmy and to all these guys, and he wants to be the future face of the franchise. And his owner, Joe Lacob, last summer at Summer League, not this summer, but last summer, so a year and a half ago now, said essentially, we think of him as a future all-star. Like, all of those things set the expectations sky high. Maybe not what like the fan base actually expects him to be, but clearly what he has talked about does not match the level of play. I think he was largely fine tonight. Like, if Moses Moody plays the way Podziemski does, it's a different story because Moses Moody does not go to the media talking about how he's X, Y, and Z, the future face of the franchise. Podziemski was largely fine today. But the thing is, he's not a player that is, a ceiling raiser, that is a guy that's going to be the face of a franchise, at least not in my opinion. But for what he did today, like he was a positive, in my opinion. Today, he was a positive. Now, his plus-minus was -2, but in a game you lose by 5, that means they were better with him on the floor than when he was off. I don't think he was like the reason the Warriors lost. I think he, with his comments, and as a result, Warrior fans are, and it's not the fault of Warrior fans, he's talked about it, Podziemski himself has talked about it, Warrior fans are holding him to a standard that he simply cannot reach. And again, it's his fault that he's being held to that standard because he's talked about that standard. He's not that player. I think for what he is, he's a pretty positive player. He's not the player that he said he wants to be. As a result, Warrior fans are frustrated because he sees himself in this light that I don't think he is. But I think saying that Podziemski is the reason the Warriors lost today is foolish. He was not the reason they lost today. He was largely good today. Honestly, in my opinion, he second on the team in rebounds and second on the team in assists. And he made all 3 of his threes tonight. Like, that's not a bad player. That's not a bad night. Now, he has talked up his game so much that you would expect him to think that he's going to score 25 and get 8 and 7 and not turn the ball over and have a couple of steals. And that's the expectations he set for himself, and he deserves to be held to that standard because that's what he thinks of himself. But if we just forget about those expectations for a sec, I think most basketball fans would say, yeah, largely a positive player. But he's not what he thinks he is, and he's not also, therefore, what Warrior fans hope for, because that's just not what he is as a basketball player. 888-957-9570. I'm going to go to Steel Toe in a sec. First, though, you're listening to 95.7 The Game. KGMZ FM in HD1 San Francisco and Odyssey Sports Station, always live on the free Odyssey app, and now broadcasting from the Laughing Monk Studios. Let's go to Steel Toe in San Mateo, who wants to weigh in. What's up, Steel Toe?
Thank you so much for taking my call. I just want to help the Warrior fans calm down a little bit. I am entertained. Shout out to Russell Crowe. This is a comedy show. Watching Draymond playing basketball, it's like watching that classic comedy show, Benny Hill, how he's the old fat man chasing the pretty girls. That's Draymond chasing the ball, trying to chase the fifth ring. It's a Benny Hill show. See, it's entertainment. See, thank you, Draymond, for your entertainment and helping me deal with real life. See, you're a laughing stock. You're just like the Harlem Globetrotters playing the Washington Generals, and Draymond's part of the Washington Generals. You see, it's entertainment. I'm there to watch real teams, real athletes, while he makes them, shine. Look, they're going to score all over the Warriors inside the paint all year long, and you're going to see the real athletes, right? You're an entertainment. Thank you, Draymond, your Benny Hill show.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Steel Toe. There's no doubt that Draymond, again, I said it earlier, but 14 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. If you told me Draymond would have those numbers pregame, I would have said, damn, he had a really good game. 8 turnovers tonight, though. And a lot of them, frankly, really bad turnovers. Really bad turnovers. And they led to a lot of Portland points. Points off turnovers tonight. The Warriors committed 18 turnovers, and the Blazers had 24 points off of those turnovers. In fact, it was the same the other way around. Portland also committed 18 turnovers, and the Warriors turned that into 24 points. So the turnover battle as a whole was not the reason the Warriors lost. Now, if they take care of the ball better, they would have won this basketball game, and Draymond committed nearly half of the turnovers himself. But it's not as if they got dominated on the turnover front. They forced a fair number of turnovers themselves and turned those into points as well. But the caller bringing up Draymond and the turnovers, I think, is absolutely fair. Draymond is a player offensively, tonight notwithstanding, as he scored 14 points. But Draymond is a player offensively who is so limited on the offensive end and draws so little attention from opposing defenses that in order for him, in my opinion, to be a positive for you on the offensive end, he has to be very smart with the basketball, and he has to be a great passer, and he has to set up your other players. And I think we are getting towards a point, and tonight, obviously, with 8 turnovers, it is a fair conversation tonight. But I also think largely we can have a larger conversation about Draymond. And maybe think about if he is consistently enough of a positive on offense. And I say enough, just a positive on offense. Again, he was not a positive tonight with those 8 turnovers. He was a minus 12, the worst plus minus in the game tonight for the Warriors. 8 turnovers is reason number one why. But in order for Draymond, who does not get guarded outside of the paint, and even sometimes in the paint oftentimes shows a hesitance to shoot a shot from around 5 feet and will instead throw a lob to a teammate that'll get knocked away or whatever the case is. He is such a negative as a scoring threat that the rest of the defense can play 5 defenders on the 4 other Warriors players. And in order for that to be worth that risk of making it tougher on everybody else, Draymond has to take care of the ball, number one, not just do a good job of that, but do a very good job of that, and 2, be an elite passer. And I don't think I've seen that as consistently this year. Defensively, he's still a really good defender. Is he as good as he was 7 years ago? No, of course not. He's still a very good defender. But when his offense isn't as effective as it once was, and I'm not even talking about the shooting, I'm talking about the ability to take care of the ball and the ability to set up teammates. When that's not as good as it once was, in order for him to be a positive on the floor, he has to be even better defensively. And he's not better defensively. He's not bad by any stretch defensively, but he's not better than he was 7 years ago when he was far and away the best defender in the NBA. He's not that anymore. I mean, when Wembanyama exists, that's not a knock on Draymond, but he's not the best defender in the league anymore. So I do think that is a fair conversation to be had about Draymond specifically. Let's see. 888-957-9570 when you want to weigh in. 262 on the Boxer and Gerson work injury attorneys text line, weighing in with an interesting conversation here. Reacting to, I believe it was David talking about Podziemski, and then I kind of addressed that as well. I want to read what the 262 wrote. He was referring to that last caller, not the most recent one, the one prior. I really liked what he said about the gamble of playing Podziemski and Buddy, but I want to approach it from another angle. The consistency is not what I'm concerned about with Pods and Buddy. It's the lack of Alfred and Podzilla moments. When you price in that lack of upside, the gamble doesn't seem as appealing. 262, are you talking about when you play Podziemski and Buddy on the floor together or just in general? If you're still listening, you can respond really quick and I'll react. But I mean, I think that kind of goes into what we were just talking about, right? Where it's based in the expectation that you have. And I guess to take it even a step further, the expectation that Podziemski has set for himself is part of it. The other part of it is what the Warriors roster needs. And the Warriors roster needs Podziemski to be what he wants to be, right? Like, if Podziemski was what he wanted to be, the Warriors are so much better. But he's not that. So you have a player who in my estimation, still for the most part is a positive player. Not a gigantic positive, but a positive player, specifically when Steph and Jimmy are playing. His value or his impact, I think, is lessened severely when Steph and Jimmy are out. He's at his best, much like everybody is, when there is greatness around him. But the Warriors roster, even when Steph and Jimmy are playing, they need another player to chip in and be like that number 3. Right now, this is a team without a number 3. It's why the Kuminga beginning of the season was so impressive and so eye-opening, because if that's who Kuminga was for a long stretch of play, the Warriors had their number 3. And you're thinking, okay, like suddenly this Warriors roster is taking on another shape. And for Kuminga, it's the added benefit of being a wing. The Warriors don't have a lot of wings. But even if Podziemski stepped up and was averaging 18 points a game and 7 assists, right? Like those are pretty good numbers, and he's not at that right now. But if he were to do that, then the Warriors I would venture to guess would have 5 more wins than they do right now. And instead of being 13-14, they might be 18-9. And think of how much different you'd feel about the Warriors if that was the case. So it's one, the expectation that he set for himself. It's also the fact that this Warriors roster is just begging for somebody to step into that limelight. And nobody has stepped into that limelight consistently. The best player to do it was Kuminga for the first 8 games of the season, but hasn't done that since. I also think a player like Jimmy Butler, I mean, big money guy, he deserves to be criticized because he hasn't done enough the last 2 games. 15 points and 16 points the last 2 games. Tonight, 3 for 11 from the field. Now, offense wasn't the issue in either of these last 2 games. It was the defense. But Jimmy, 31 points, last 2 games combined, 9 for 22 from the field. 9 for 22 from the field. It's just not good enough. And in the fourth quarter the other night on Friday, he had 1 field goal attempt and 1 point. In a game that was in the balance. Tonight also in the balance, and he goes just 3 for 11 from the field. You need Jimmy to be a little bit more aggressive. You absolutely need it. The 262 has weighed back in. I asked the 262 if he's talking about Podziemski and Hield playing together. He says, either way, although I hated Buddy being in the starting lineup on Friday, overall, though, the bigger concern is that Podziemski and Buddy had a bunch of money games last year, and this year it feels like all Steph. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think Podziemski... not only has he not taken a step forward, at times in the bigger moments, it has been a bit of a step back. And Buddy Hield hasn't found any kind of rhythm. He's had a couple of games here and there, and tonight wasn't terrible, but 10 points, 4 of 7 shooting, that's not going to win you a basketball game. He had major money moments in the playoffs. Game 7 in Houston, Game 1 in Minnesota. The Warriors won both those games, and Buddy was almost reason number 1 in both of those games. Other than that, I mean, he had, of course, moments in the regular season. Buddy is a very streaky player, and I guarantee you there will be a streak this regular season where he gets it going and is a major plus. It hasn't happened yet, and we're 27 games in. So there's no doubt. You have a bunch of role players that you need to be better than role players, and your role players are just role players. That's what the Warriors' issue is right now. Okay, let's hear from Steve Kerr. I'm curious what Steve Kerr had to say tonight. We're gonna hear from Steve Kerr right now. Warriors lose 136-131. We're with you probably for another 15 or so minutes. If you want to weigh in, give me a call. We'll get to you after Steve Kerr plays. It's about 5 minutes long. 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. Here is Warriors head coach Steve Kerr addressing the media after his team lost 136-131 despite 48 points from Steph Curry tonight. Here's Steve Kerr.
Yeah, I mean, they're all tough. But when you make 24 threes, Steph makes 12 of them, you should win the game. And obviously couldn't stop them. They made 20 threes themselves. And I mean, it was a great game. It was a wild game. And we're just not closing games. I think we're 5-9 now in clutch games. We're not closing close games down the stretch, and we've got to find a way to do that.
What went wrong defensively there after you guys go up, I think early in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, we went up 10, and then I think they scored 10 straight or 8 straight. and felt like we weren't getting back in transition off of our misses, and they got downhill. This team has a lot of guys who can attack, and they draw help, and they, those 2 threes from Jeremy Grant were big shots, and they flipped the game back in their direction.
Draymond had 8 turnovers. He had some other really solid stat lines, but what did you think of his game overall?
Well, his energy is amazing for us, and he plays so hard, and he's just got to find a way to walk that line. I mean, he's an incredible player, and we'd be big trouble without him. But he's got to have 3 turnovers instead of 8. It just is what it is. And a lot of them he was just in a rush. He's got to just find a way to slow down a little bit, keep the game under control, because that obviously impacts our defense. We gave up 24 points off turnovers. And so we got to find a way to connect the game. That's my job. I'm not doing my job well this year. We're 13-14. We have enough talent to be much better. We're losing all these close games. So I got to find a way to help these guys.
You mentioned the close game part a couple times. In your experience, is that more execution, or is that a mindset that a team has?
They go hand in hand. If you execute well, you're disciplined. That's the mindset that you need to have, and you gain confidence from that. And we haven't built that late game execution / confidence to this point.
Is this starting lineup the one that started tonight? Is this a group you're going to give some runway to?
I have no idea. I mean, honestly, it's we've had so many guys in and out of the lineup. We'll see if we can, stay healthy. Then maybe this is the way we go. But we would like to build some consistency. We just haven't been able to this point.
As far as Jimmy goes, what are you seeing from him right now?
Well, yeah, I got to find a way to get him more into the groove of the game. 11 shots. I mean, I don't know. I don't really consider, Jimmy's game to be dependent on how many shots he gets, but we do need his scoring. We do need his playmaking. I thought we did a better job last year of putting in position to attack and create shots for people. And we need to get back to that type of control of the game where, we're going to him in the half court, especially when Steph's out, going to him in the half court, taking care of the ball, turning the other team over, controlling the game. And we're not there. We've had a few moments during the season, but we're not able to consistently put the ball in Jimmy's hands and let him control games like we did at the end of last year.
What are you seeing with regards to that? Like, why not?
Well, I think we're a little bit more in our random flow, and I think we need to be more particular with getting to some sets where we know we can get him the ball. And there have been times over the last week where, I think the Minnesota game, he went like 4 straight possessions without touching the ball when Steph was not on the floor. And that's on me. It's also on our players to understand. I mean, I can't call a play every time, nor do I want to. And so we have to find a way in collaboration as a staff, players, to make sure we're playing through Jimmy and getting the game under control. I mean, you saw it tonight. It was just a track meet, and that team is way more athletic than we are. And they've beaten us all 3 times because we have not been able to control them in penetration and, turnovers and all that stuff. So we got to find a way to get the game under control.
We were talking about this before the game a little bit, but it obviously is different when Steph and Draymond are back. Do you think guys still fall in a trap all these years later that when he is running as hot as he has the last 2 nights, where they just try to find him and kind of stop doing whatever they're supposed to do?
No, I'll have to watch the tape. It didn't feel like our turnovers were coming because we were forcing the ball to Steph. I thought most of his shots were, pretty good looks, and the turnovers that we had weren't from like chasing after Steph. It was more just carelessness with the ball.
All right, that's Steve Kerr. Wow, that was interesting. The number of times Steve Kerr basically said it was my fault or I'm not doing a good job or doesn't have an answer. I mean, at least 3 or 4 times. I guarantee you, you're going to hear this a lot on this station going forward.
I have no idea.
Steve Kerr saying, I have no idea. I thought it was really interesting when he, number one, was asked about Jimmy Butler. And I believe it was Nick Friedel, who you hear on this station every week on 95.7 The Game, our Odyssey NBA insider. I think it was Nick Friedel who asked about Jimmy Butler's game. And Steve Kerr basically said, I'm not doing a good job putting him in positions to where he can attack. I was doing a better job last year. I need to be better at that. And Steve Kerr's right. I think some of it also just goes to the player. Steve Kerr was also talking about how I can't call a play every single possession. I mean, you watch the game tonight. It's up and down, up and down, up and down. There's no time for Steve Kerr to give the signal to Jimmy Butler or Steph Curry or whatever it is and say, this is a play that we're drawing up for Jimmy. Everyone else back out and giving Jimmy the ball. Like, that's not how basketball works incredibly often. But there are moments where I think Steve Kerr can put Jimmy Butler in better positions. And it's also, again, on Jimmy Butler to say, you know what? We're going a little too fast. We're turning the ball over a lot. 18 turnovers tonight. Let's slow things down. Give me the ball. Get out of the way. I will at least get us a good look. Now, is the good look going to go in? We'll see. But just get a good look. Avoid a turnover. Let me calm things down. I think Jimmy can be a little more vocal in that regard. I don't think he has been as much. I don't think there should be close games, in the fourth quarter, specifically when Steph is resting, where the offense does not run through Jimmy Butler for long stretches. It should, because the Warriors don't have a great option otherwise. Also, when he was talking about against Portland specifically, he's talking about how they hadn't been able to handle Portland's length and athleticism and their quickness, and they haven't been able to limit the turnovers, and they get out and run, and they've been track meets, and I guarantee every person listening, because I'm thinking it, I'm sure Cam behind the glass is thinking it, everybody's thinking it. Interesting, Steve. It sounds like the prototypical game for the long athletic wing on your bench, which is Jonathan Kuminga. Like, it seems like at least something worth trying, because what you're trotting out there isn't working. And Denny Avdia is driving past anybody that's guarding him. And Shaedon Sharpe is either shooting over your shorter guards or is driving past them, getting to the rim, and finishing in traffic. Or Jeremy Grant is dominating everybody that you're throwing on him. Does not mean that you have to have the utmost confidence that Kuminga will shut anybody down. But I don't know, considering those athletic wings, it probably was worth a shot. Now, it might not have gone well. Who the hell knows? But we don't know how it would have gone, because it didn't even happen. There was no attempt of it happening. So, I don't know. I thought that was a really interesting Steve Kerr presser. How about this one? Where was it? He was asked, I believe it was by Sam Gordon of the Chronicle. We're going to hear the question again. But he was asked if he's going to continue with the Warriors starting lineup that started tonight, which was Steph Curry, Moses Moody, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and Quentin Post. Those 5. This question.
Is this starting lineup the one that started tonight? Is this a group you're going to give some runway to?
I have no idea. I mean, honestly, it's we've had so many guys in and out of the lineup. We'll see if we can, stay healthy, then, maybe this is the way we go. But we would like to build some consistency. We just haven't been able to this point. I
mean, I have no idea. And some of that isn't, Steve Kerr just being like, I don't know what I want to do. It's also just, well, is everybody going to be healthy? Is Draymond going to be able to play? Is Steph going to be able to play? Is Jimmy going to be able to play? Like, that's I would imagine what Steve Kerr is referring to there mostly. But, wow, that was a unique Steve Kerr presser, and I figured he would be frustrated. He almost sounded more like resigned than frustrated. It was a tenser Steve Kerr interview than we've heard in quite a while, in my opinion. And the number of times that he mentioned himself as someone that needs to be better, I mean, it was at least 3. if not 4 times. We'll see if he does better. It's partly why I think we're probably going to see the end of the Jonathan Kuminga DNP streak, because you got to try something else at some point. Now, the Warriors coming up next. They have 2 games against Phoenix. Phoenix doesn't strike me as a team that is like wing dominant. Phoenix, you play in Phoenix Thursday, so you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, in Phoenix Thursday, in hosting Phoenix on Saturday. So back-to-back games against Phoenix, 1 on the road on Thursday, 1 at home on Saturday of next weekend. But this is a Phoenix team. Again, that's a handful of days away. They more so beat you with Devin Booker, of course. And they've been a really interesting team. Dylan Brooks has been awesome so far this year. I know he's like public enemy number 1 for Warrior fans, and fair enough with what happened in Memphis and then in Houston as well. He's been really good this year, and now he is a wing that's going to give the Warriors problems. Grayson Allen is a 2-guard. And then they just got a bunch of good role players that have been playing really well this year. But that's not a team that I think screams crazy athletic freaks like Portland has, where it screams as a Kuminga kind of matchup. But we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out at that point. I do think the way that Steve Kerr talked post-game, it might be the end of the Jonathan Kuminga DNP streak. He has not played in 3 consecutive games despite being active in all 3. We'll see what happens. And this just kind of speaks to a larger issue for Steve Kerr, where not that he can't change his mind and update his decision-making and, react to new information, right? But he will commit to something, and he'll say he'll commit to something, and then 3 or 4 games will pass, and he'll completely switch up his decision and go with something else. Like, he said it there, I want to stick with something. He wants to find something that can have some continuity. But in order to get that continuity, you need a group of players to play well and earn the continuity. But it's kind of like chicken or the egg. Does the continuity come because a group plays well, or does continuity come because a group plays together for a long stretch and they're able to sort through some issues? I'm sure it's a little bit of both. And for the Warriors, they haven't really been able to have that continuity because they haven't played a lot of minutes together consecutively. I think. All right, let's go to the phones, and then we're going to wrap things up here. Jim in St. Louis is next. What's up, Jim? You're on Warriors Wrap Up.
Hey, he said it. He said that Portland's more athletic than the Warriors, right?
Yeah, he talked about that. Lack of athleticism compared to the Portland's athleticism.
Well, guess what? Every team we play is bigger and longer and more athletic than we are. He's delusional. He thinks that somehow there's some kind of magic thing's going to happen.
Yeah, Jim.
Just like the owners.
Yeah, Jim, I think it's a fair call. The Warriors are a team that on any given night are going to be smaller and are going to be less athletic than every team they play. Every team they play. And that's even if Kuminga plays. Kuminga is like, obviously, the most athletic player on the Warriors team. Just in terms of, when we say athleticism, we think of ability to jump and quickness, right? And acceleration and those sorts of things, right? Like, that's the athleticism that we're talking about. There's other kinds of athleticism. Like, Steph is insanely athletic, but Steph is not the athletic that we're talking about when we're talking about Shaedon Sharpe athleticism. You're talking about Jonathan Kuminga athleticism. That's the prototypical kind of athleticism. The Warriors are at an athleticism and size disparity every single game they play. Which means, how do they win basketball games in today's NBA when the NBA is an athleticism and size league? You have to be great in a lot of the other areas. You have to take care of the ball. You have to play great defense. You have to get to the free throw line a lot, right? And tonight, the Warriors, they were great offensively despite their lack of athleticism and size. They scored 131 points, but you gave up 136, and you allowed a Portland team that's not a good three-point shooting team to shoot above 50% from deep. So it puts you kind of in a hole from the beginning because you have to be good in a lot of other ways. And again, not that playing Kuminga suddenly makes them the most athletic team in the league. It doesn't, but he gives them more athleticism. Now, how to use the athleticism? Just athleticism on the floor doesn't mean anything. You have to utilize the athleticism. I think it's more so about a lack of size, although despite the lack of size, the Warriors are a pretty good rebounding team. What were the rebounding numbers today? The Warriors, 28 rebounds. That's defensive rebounds. 36 total rebounds for the Warriors, 43 for the Blazers. That's not a terrible number. Considering the lack of size, it's not absurd. Offensive rebounds were 8 for the Warriors, 10 for the Blazers. Second chance points, 24 for the Blazers, 18 for the Warriors. Again, that's an edge for Portland. Not saying it's not, but it's not as if that's one that's absolutely backbreaking and one that you can't overcome. You committed 18 turnovers that turned into 24 points for Portland. Not great. Not great. All right, we got time for one last caller here, and then we're going to wrap things up. Ben just called in. We're going to sneak Ben in here. Ben in Sunnyvale, you're our last caller tonight, Ben. Bring us home. What do you got?
Hey, thanks for having me. I remember calling in after the last Portland game, and that was also a frustrating loss. And when this team is always at a disadvantage, like you were pointing out, athletically, on both ends of the floor, defense and offense, it's hard to admit that's just a talent deficit. I love this group of guys, but if we're going back to, it kind of feels like some of these last few seasons where Steve Kerr's trying out all these different options. We're going to G League guys. We're going to the bottom of the rotation, and I know this can feel hopeless, but at this point, what else can we really expect from this team? Again, as much as I like this group of guys, I don't know if for you this feels different than some of those last couple of years where we've been a 500 team. We're hoping that, answers can come from somewhere on the roster in terms of development or from a trade. And we already tried that with Jimmy Butler.
Yep.
And again, as much as I love him as a player, I know a lot of people are coming down his road and saying he's not doing enough. I think I've said this before. Mike Dunleavy has such a difficult job evaluating, who do we keep, who do we try to move. Could we expect post-development this year, or Guy Santos to contribute, or Pat Spencer to contribute? Those have been good stories, but if that's who we're relying on, you need a lot more from guys 6, 7, and 8 in the depth chart.
Yep.
And tonight, it's not Moody's fault, it's not Pachensky's fault entirely, but they could be doing a lot more. So yeah, for me as a fan, it's special to see Steph Curry, but he needs a lot of help, and I hope something come from the roster. This might sound familiar to you. Again, it could just be like other years, and I don't know how we snap out of it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate the call, Ben. I think what you were talking about early, how this feels different than years past when the Warriors, kind of ever since the 2022 championship, they've kind of been hanging out in this world of mostly mediocrity, right? Above 500 for the most part. But winning a playoff series is their peak since then. Just one playoff series in a single postseason. Why this feels different to me is because of what you talked about, the trade for Jimmy Butler last year and how that immediately changed things. The Warriors traded for Jimmy Butler and then last year went 23-8 to close the season. When Steph and Jimmy Butler played together, they were 22-5 last year. 22-5 when Steph and Jimmy played last regular season. This regular season, if you include today, they're now 9-9 when those two play. That's the difference. You saw a team last year that felt like post Jimmy Butler acquisition, they were one of the better teams in the NBA. And maybe you say, well, that was fake because it was a soft schedule, whatever. They were amazing last year down the stretch with Steph and Jimmy. 22-5 when those two played. By the way, when Steph, Jimmy, Moses, Moody, and Draymond Green started together in the starting lineup, they were 21-4 in the regular season last year. They're now 3-4 this year. Why it feels different to me is, and why it's more disappointing as a result, was because we saw this work last year. This was a worse roster last year, just in terms of the names on the roster. You lost Kevon Looney. Love you, Kevon. But you gained DeAnthony Melton. You gained Al Horford. You gained Seth Curry, although Seth Curry hasn't, been playing. He's a DNP as well for the Warriors of late. Your roster is better and more talented. Now, it's also older, and maybe you think that's the reason why, but you were great to close last season. Legitimately, only OKC and the Celtics, the number one seeds in each conference, were better than you down the stretch of the regular season last year. And you largely have a better roster this year. Not like from your stars, but on the margins, your roster has improved, in my opinion. You might disagree, but I think so. And yet, you're a below 500 basketball team now at 13-14. So we'll see how it plays out. All right. Warriors lose 136-131. They're now 13-14. They have 3 more days off to figure things out before they fly to Phoenix to get ready for Devin Booker, Dillon Brooks, and the Suns, who had a crazy game versus LeBron and the Lakers tonight. Dillon Brooks went crazy with LeBron James. There were multiple dust-ups between those two. I think Dillon got ejected and kind of cost them the game because of a technical foul that he committed against LeBron. I wasn't able to watch it, of course, but watching the highlights on SportsCenter right now, it looked like a crazy finish to that game. That's the Warriors' next opponent, Phoenix, in Phoenix on Thursday, Warriors versus the Suns. All right, that'll do it for Warriors Wrap-Up tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Mark Graney, signing off. Long night. Wish it was better circumstances, but the Warriors lose 136-131. For Cam Williams, still here behind the glass. For Steven Risotto, who's long gone. My name is Mark Graney, signing off. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk next time on 95.7 The Game.
Target's last-minute deals are here, right on time to get you holiday ready in no time. Snap beauty gift sets for every style. The